Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the beautiful Silverstone here out in the UK. Welcome to the Sunday Night Madness. Welcome to the one, the only ERA, Evolution Racing Academy Round 4 as we hit Silverstone, home to many of legends and home to many of championships that will be defied. So, we're in for an exciting time, and I hope that you are ready for the ride because it's going to be one of these great races that's going to push our drivers to the limit. So, let's take a look at who is where in the championship. It's Christoph Peterson leading out our Diamonds with 40 points. 34 points behind, lying at 34 points is Ben Hicks, followed by David Schutzen, Jens Nelson, Ernest Lundbergs in the top 5 for our Diamond class. Platinum, we have got David Borshi in first place with Lucas Collop in second, Mon Spritzer in third, along with Tomo Malami in fourth. Sebastian Lucasen will hold fifth of our Platinums. Very, very close though, only separated by 4 points on them, so don't count the drivers out just as yet. But the big talking point is our Gold Championship. David Roth going and leading it out with 36 points, tied with Miles Stone in second place. Ulrich de Jager lying 6 points away from them, but is tied with Marco Virgo at this current point. John Spriggs running in fifth on 26 points. So he's needing to pick up 4 points here at the beautiful circuit of Silverstone, and we're in for a wild, wild ride. So hopefully you're all ready to have a bit of fun. And a big welcome to our virtual grandstands. That being said, though, let's take a look down towards our track as we get ready to rock and roll. So as we move on to our little bit of qualifying happening out on track, all the drivers looking to push the limits of what they can do here on the beautiful, beautiful circuit of Silverstone, home of legends, home of the great. So far, going to be an exciting run, all being told. At this current point, we've got on the screen Ben Hicks. Remember, he is tied for the championship and now looking to make up some big waves. We've got Tomo Malami out on circuit yet again to go and fight after a great run into the top 4. So he's hoping that he's going to carry that momentum a little bit more forward and in for the fight. So keep an eye on him. Don't go and put Tomo out of the pretty picture just as yet. He knows how to get this car around the circuit. Milestone, tied up with the points, needs to pick up some pace to get himself ahead. Paul Fenter back out on track, looking to rule the world yet again with his Aston Martin that so far has been bringing him better luck than his original Honda that he had last season. Lewis Knight, a little bit further down, will be trying to pick up the pace and stay in for the fight as well, and hopefully wanting to get a little bit more of a run out of the Godzilla. Lucas Collop, a little bit further down, will be going and battling out Christoph Rolotsky, Ruben Heineke, Finn van Holland, along with David Schutten, John Spriggs, and Aaron Schegel going and rounding out our top 12 at this current stage of the game. Everyone's still trying to get some heat into their tires. Cedric Muir, a little bit further down, will be wanting to get onto pace a lot quicker and ensure that he stays in for the fight, not to be caught out by the drivers, and also looking to score as many points as possible here at Silverstone. As a big fan of it, has done well in the past. Sean Skitter out there in the Honda NSX, and Ernest Lundbergs, who is in for the fight for the top running order. Matt Mertison, new name to the grid. Good to have him out in the gold. And Glenn Smith, followed by Stephen Milano, James Federico Calgero, Jason Farmer of the Griffin Sim Racing. I know there's going to be lots of support from Antonio Gamble on that running. Mon Spritzer a little bit further down. Nico Lawrence, Christian Fingler of the Track Tool team, Scott Reynolds, and Rob van der Heerden, Jens Nelson, Finley Gamble, Chris Wall, Hanzo Foss, David Young, all going out on the circuit. So we have got quite a bit to talk about during the course of this race and our qualifying, as we will see Ben Hicks putting the first time on the board with a 1:58 158 at this point, trying to get some time. David Schutten immediately going and beating out with a 158.0. Paul Fenter down into 4th. Ernest Umbriggs with that 488 Ferrari puts a 157 in on the board. Krzysztof Rolotsky jumping in with the likes of 59. Lewis Knight with a 59, as everyone's starting to get a little bit of heat into their tires, starting to get a little bit more pace underneath them, and now trying to get themselves going. Through Maggots and Beckett's they go, on the power, just dragging those cars through, hopefully to keep them all in check. Tire wear has been the concern of the drivers, especially on a very warm day here at Silverstone, and good to see that we've got some warmer weather. Sean Skitter taking the top of the board with a 157.620 is now going to be fighting out, and let's see how the rest are going to be able to do, because at the moment the 59 seem to be the go-to for a lot of drivers at the moment, with our new drivers actually picking up the pace and really putting the pressure on. Glenn Smith, though, down in 10th, hoping to pick up his pace after a little bit of a rough time last race. He's hoping that's going to work out. Taking a look to our virtual grandstands, we've got Antonio Gamble, LC Joubert, all sitting in the VIP ERA grandstands, along with Tourist going and being there. Good to have you guys, and good to see you all out on circuit. And once again, we do have the fortunate luck of going and having onboard cameras with quite a few drivers. And one of the new ones that I've got to go and talk about, and big shout out, actually comes in the form of Ernest Lundbergs, who's managed to get himself all sorted out. And we actually got an onboard camera for Ernest Lundbergs, so let's bring it up on our screen. Big thank you to Tim. He's been working frantically behind the scenes to make things work. And there we go, Ernest Lundbergs in the 488, having a bit of travel. And one of our new cameras coming into play to show off the great work going on. Always fantastic to see, and you can see the utmost concentration as he tries to go for that first place. Unfortunately, not having the easy time through. Let's go and take a look as we follow a lap through Silverstone, through Maggots, through Beckett's. Quick snap of the steering wheel, trying everything possible to keep it all in check. A little bit of a slide on the exit, going through the gears, making sure just to keep it all in check as it powers on. And a quick go through the gears. Down the straightaway he goes, hoping to pick up some time. Currently being one of the quickest cars out there. Oh, massive tank slapper, cross-armed. Unfortunately, losing a lot of time under braking. You can see the frustration, a little bit of alteration going and happening with the car, just to ensure they can try and get it all sorted out. So, always interesting to have a look at the drivers. Sean Skitter currently fastest out on circuit and still going faster. Stephen Milano, James, though, for the Cyber Racing team, have been on a chase. Now, the Cyber Racing team have been improving to ensure that they can stay towards the top and be one of the top teams out there. Camille Sutton also out there in the virtual grandstands, one of our top star drivers that's out here in ERA. This time, not on the grid, from what I can see, Camille. So, sad to not see you here, but it's always fantastic to go and have you around. And definitely one of the drivers to keep an eye out. Future world champion in the world of GT3 virtual racing. But, ladies and gentlemen, Sean Skitter leads out the pack. Christoph Peterson, who is fighting out for the championship, going and switching up the colors quite a bit into something a little bit more, well, crazy. The bad brains of Christoph Peterson going and slapping his way through. Currently 0.7 of a second up on his personal best. And we'll have to see if he'll carry that momentum forward. Now currently the fastest out on track. Jason Farmer trying to get a little bit more pace out. He's 0.2 up. Nico Lawrence of the Track Tool team into that top 10. Looking to try and get into the top 5 as he powers his way through. Peterson down the straightaway goes, still as fast as he can be. And it's all our diamonds locking up the front on 7 and our platinums in 8th to 11th. Our golds, Miles Stone, going and leading out the golds in 12th place with likes of Aaron Shingle in 2nd of our golds. We'll hope to do it. 1.2 seconds up on his time and across the board with a 157.115 just to dominate in it. But how long can he hold that position? How long can he keep it going? That is the question. as they go through. Aaron Shingle, second of our golds, trying to improve his time. Jen Nelson, big improvement on his personal best, currently 0.3 up, along with John Spriggs, who is part of the Wise Racing team in the Castrol Colors Honda NSX GT3, or if you're in the American region, the Acura, as he's in 20th position, but with the time currently at the moment, has an opportunity to put himself into the top 15. Federico Calgaro, also a driver not to take an eye off, is currently 0.3 up as he comes across the line and improves to 19th. Finn Holland has had a bit of a challenging time in the Porsche, hoping that he's going to be able to launch his way through to the top end of the order. So far, three cars have not been able to put a time on the board. Tomo Milami, along with Sebastian Robertson and David Borski, who's actually one of our top runners, who's now a little bit further down, going to be really trying to concentrate on how to put a time on the board. No, Tomo has been working frantic behind the scenes to get the car sorted out and ensure he stays in for the fight. We do see Jason Farmer currently lying in 6th place, 0.2 up on his personal best. Nico Lawrence and Aaron Shingle not going to be improving their time. Ruin Heineke going to be coming across the line for Team Sarko and will try and move up a little bit. Does improve with a 158, well, the 158.6. Best time was a 158.5, so tried getting close, unfortunately not enough. Jens Elson, on the other hand, currently 0.3 of a second up on his personal best, wanting to join the rest of the Platinums. Well, the rest of the Diamonds further up will come across the line and will be looking to try and improve on his pace. Currently 0.5. Oh, runs out wide, drops a wheel. That is it. Game over on trying to get that fast lap. Unfortunately, the circuit does not allow much favoritism in keeping things in check. We know how difficult it is with track limits here, and you got to push the limits. You've got to utilize more of the circuit here at Silverstone. You've got to use everything you can. It's wide enough to get into a boxing match with your fellow drivers, but in turn, you will land up having to just battle it out, try and keep it all together, and see where it's all going to handle through. Patrick Biles down in 27th position, currently 0.3 of a second up on his personal best. No changes towards the front. Christoph Peterson still leads out the pack with Sean Skitter, his teammate, in 2nd place. Stephen Milana James in 3rd, followed by Ernest Sundberg. Skurt Reynolds in 5th, which is great to see. He's managed to power that Mustang all the way through and will be looking to carry on. Jason Farmer in 6th, 7th David Shuden, Glenn Smith, Ruin Heineke, and let's see if the rest of the drivers are able to pick up the pace. Patrick Biles, though, aiming for that top 15, 0.4 up on his personal best with the BMW M4 GT3 as he comes across the line. Is it enough, though, to go and move up? Going and doing a 159.310. Unfortunately, not a big jump, still staying in 27th, but definitely finding a little bit more pace in towards Sector 2s and hoping that he can carry a lot more momentum. Sean Skitter going out a little bit wide. He's trying to improve his times and really get back into the fight at this current moment. So far, the 157 mark has only been given to the top 5, and they are within the second of one another to battle it out. Skurt Reynolds going and just being outside of that, well, being in that 157, lying in 6th place at the moment with the Ford Mustang. The only car that is a front engine monster to deal with. The rest is Ferraris and the lone Honda NSX. Well, I talk about that. Ben Hicks immediately goes and puts himself into 4th place and is on an absolute rushing mission here with the BMW. Caught up in a bit of traffic, trying to cycle his way through Maggots and Beckett's. Not going to work out for him. He's going to have to just come slightly off the throttle. Cyber Racing just mining out of the way as he's trying to put the time down on the board. 1 minute and 38 to go. And drivers are in a mad dash to get to the end, to see what they can do and how far can they push themselves to the limit in this qualifying match. So, Jason Farmer not improving, unfortunately, down in the sectors. Sean Skitter up 0.1, but got a serious amount of traffic to contend with to try and put a time on the board. Christoph Peterson matching his personal best, looking to try and improve to get into the 156s with that 488. A change-up of car may have been enough to really get into the fight as Sean Skitter comes across the line and will be going and battling out a little bit more. And this is utilizing the standard pits, not the old Grand Prix where the line would actually be back there. Sean Skitter, though, doing a 1:57.620. That's his time to beat, and last lap time was 1:57.8. Lots of traffic, but does mean he has a bit of a toe to pull himself through. Christoph Peterson making his way around the circuit is now halfway through. He's currently 0.1 up on the fastest lap time, but can he carry that momentum all the way through to the end? That is the question. Ernest Lundberg's currently lying in second place. Sean Skitter, Ben Hicks, along with Stephen Milano James, as we do see one of the Cyber Racing BMWs going off. Stephen Milano James battling to keep the car in check. Jason Farmer utilizing the toe of John Spriggs of the Wise Racing in the Castrol colors, hoping that it's going to make a big effort to him. Glenn Smith will be trying to pick up pace. Scott Reynolds, David Schutten, Ruin Heineke across the line. Aaron Spritzer, Chris Wall, all getting across the line. Unfortunately, not able to improve. Sean Skitter unable to improve his time. So far, Christoph Peterson, leader of the championship for our Diamonds, 0.1 up on his fastest lap time, looking to really stomp out a victory here in qualifying. Does get across the line and breaks the 1:56 mark with a 1:56.9. Paul Fenter will be next to come through and will be battling his way to the line. Currently 0.1 up. Stephen Milano James as well, looking to try and put a little bit more on the board to get into that top 3. 0.1 up on his personal best, but is it going to be enough to carry his way through? Ernest Lundberg's Ben Hicks unable to get any improvement, but they've still got some time on the board. Glenn Smith going and improving by 0.2. Chris Wall, unfortunately, not able to do so. Paul Fenter running out a little bit wide, trying to utilize a bit of a toe from the Ferrari ahead of him of the Griffin Sim Racing team. Jason Farmer moving out of the way for Paul Fenter to just try and put a timeout on the board there, get into the top 10 and stop hanging around that top 15. As they hammer down, Ernest Lundberg comes across the line, lying in third place. He's unable to improve. Stephen Milano James going and powering his way through. Has got a little bit of traffic ahead of him, but also a slipstream to utilize. And as much as we say it's a bit of traffic, it's also a way to utilize a bit of a slipstream on the way through. Stephen Milano James gets himself into the top 3. Big run for him. And now looking to fight it out. Ben Hicks dropping a wheel on the dirt on his exit through, unfortunately going and signaling the end of his qualifying. Ulrich Diaga still out on the circuit, comes across the line, puts himself into the top 20 with that stellar effort. Going to be happy with his run. So with drivers already getting themselves for some fun, closing up in the racing is going to be the main key. Slipstreaming effects are going to be one crucial factor here in the world of Assetto Corsa Competizione, right here at Silverstone, and round 4 of the ERA Sunday Championship. Championship that really goes and tests the drivers from across the globe to battle it out and get their best efforts into it. It's going to be a long race. It's going to be an hour's race. Remember, they still have the mandatory pit stops to deal with and success penalties that start to come in as well. And we have got not only Server 1 that's got our pro tier drivers of our diamonds, our platinums and golds. We do have a Server 2 that is out that has your irons, your getting started drivers that provide some amazing action. And that's also getting some live broadcasting here on the ERA channel. And a big, big welcome to everyone taking a look to the virtual grandstands. Glad to have you guys here for some incredible bit of fun. And I think we're in for an absolute great race of some back and forth battles. Now, taking a look at the circuit here at Silverstone, we're going to be keeping an eye on a couple of corners that have been catching drivers out. Namely, starting to head through left field. You will lose a lot of time if you get your braking marker wrong, especially of the nature of it. Going into a left-hander, got to keep wide to just try and get into left field and get straighten out the corner. Another one, Magaton Beckett, a little bit too much going onto the green on the entry into Maggots. You will land up starting to pick up warnings. So that is another concern for drivers to just avoid. And then Cops will be the next of the problems. Cops and Stowe, you can run out very wide, but you can start picking up those drive-through penalties very, very quickly. One mandatory pit stop that the drivers are going to be contending with, and they're going to have to battle their way through. So, with that being said, all the drivers heading down to the circuit. And let's take a look at our cars and also get an idea of how it's all going to go. Drivers starting to get ready, get themselves organized, and our cameras are at the ready to have quite a few people in here. We've got Paul Fenter, Tomo Malami, Ernest Lundbriggs, and Chris Wall all going and being a part of it. So Tomo hoping to improve his time. He's currently lying in 21st position. Then we have got Paul Fenter, who is looking to try and pick up the pace. At the moment, he's lying in 8th and hoping to win the championship this time around. Been close enough and had some great runs, but let's see if it's going to work out. He's going to have to contend with the likes of Chris Wall, who hasn't had the easiest of drives at current, but is looking to really put the impact here tonight and getting himself loose, getting himself ready for some great racing action. But out towards the front, though, lying in 4th place, is going to be Ernest Lundbriggs, who wants to try and get the power down quite quickly to break away. So keep an eye out on him. He's not a slouch to have on the circuit. So great to see our onboard cameras, great to see the drivers, and great to see who is going to be around for this race. So if you are just joining us for the first time here at ERA, a massive welcome to you all. Glad to have you here, and welcome to a fantastic round 4. Now, here at Silverstone, we're going to be having a bit of fun, but you will notice that we have penalties coming into play. Now, you must be thinking, why is there penalties? Is this purely because someone's done a wrong and got the wooden spoon? No, we've got that, plus we've got what we call success penalties. Now, the success penalties come into play to try and bring a little bit more action into the racing, bring the grids a little bit closer, and also be able to have a proper fight with one another. Christoph Peterson in 1st place, Sean Skitter in 2nd, Stephen Milano, James, Ernest Lundbriggs will have to all contend. But it's Christoph Peterson with that 15-second penalty that he's going to have to contend with. That's for winning the previous race. Then you've got Ernest Lundbriggs, who came 3rd. He has got 5 seconds. Scott Reynolds getting a penalty, plus also the success here. Unfortunately, 30 seconds on his time. It's going to really take him out of the race. Milestone took the win and now holds a 15-second penalty to contend with. And Ulrich de Jager has got a 5-second penalty for coming 3rd. Tom Malami getting 15 seconds after his win, coming 4th at Donington, and hoping that he can really put up the chase a little bit further up in the field. John Spriggs with 10 seconds, and Jens Nelson a little bit further down. That being said, we like to have a quick one, so let's see if we can try and get the drivers just to give a bit of a wave to all of us. So just a call to the drivers. You want to give a little bit of a wave to the crowd as you're on the screen. Fantastic. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. It's always good to have that little bit of a wave, a show, and support on the way through. Alrighty-o, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hopefully you are just excited as I am for here at ERA. We're gonna be having a ton of fun, and it's going to be all eyes locked in for the fight here at ERA for the Sunday Championship, round 4 of 7. And with Christoph Peterson leading out the field, we'll be trying to pick up the pace, get some heat into those tires, and get going. That being said, though, let's go through our running grid as it stands here at the ERA Sunday Championship. So far, it is Christoph Peterson that will lead out the pack with teammate Sean Skitter in 2nd. Stephen Milano, James lying in 3rd place with Ernest Lundbriggs. Ben Hicks will be in 5th. Jason Farmer along with Mon Spritzer. Paul Fenter, Glenn Smith, Skurt Reynolds, David Schutten, Ruan Heineke, Nico Lawrence in 13th. 14th is Chris Wall, followed by Aaron Schenkel. Lucas Collab in 16th. 17th position, Miles Stone, David Young, along with Hanso Foss. Ulrich de Jager, Tomo Malami running in 21st. John Spriggs in 22nd. Jens Nelson in 23rd, Federico Galguero in 24th, Finn Van Allen will hold 25th position at the start, Marco Vigo, who's tied up in points, lying down in 26th position, going to have to try and get into that top 20. Christian Fingler down in 27th position. Matt Madison, our new driver to the grid, and fantastic results for him. He's currently sitting in 28th, looking to really put the hammer down. He's got Patrick Biles to deal with in 29th, and Finley Gamble, who's going to gamble it all the way in 30th. Lewis Knight with the likes of Jensen van Vuren in 32nd. Rob van der Heever, Christoph Rolotsky, Cedric Muir, along with Sebastian Rubbersam and David Broschke, rowing and rounding out our pack here at ERA. And it's going to be a wild one, but back towards our leader as we get ourselves going. Everyone trying to just get their eyes set in and ready for the fight. A little bit of quick movements left and right to get a bit of heat into the tires, get themselves going, and ensure that they stay in for the fight. And we'll be hoping to warm up those brakes as quick as possible. Stephen Milano James look to try and get an early jump. Ernest Sundbergs knows what he needs to do to try and shuffle past to get ahead of Sean Skitter and Christoph Peterson, just so there isn't that teammate battle between them. Ben Hicks, who has been fighting out all season for the ERA Highway Patrol, will have to try and get the hammer down early on after getting a little bit of a turnaround at Donington. He's looking to try and make up as much time as possible. Jason Farmer, a little bit further down, will hope to get some pace and claw his way into that top 5, currently lying in 6th. But it's Martin Spritzer who's got the gap of having Glenn Smith next to him as he holds first of the Platinums. And you got Aaron Shingle beating out Milestone, who's still got that 15-second penalty to contend with during the course of this race. One mandatory pit stop needed by the teams. That means you've got to get into the box, put at least 1 liter of fuel in the car, and get yourself back out and going, which is not an easy feat by any stretch of the imagination. It comes down to where your planning is going to be. How far are you going to run into the race before you get yourself done and dusted? Track temperature, 20 degrees, which is going to help reduce tire wear, but at the same time, it is getting a little bit darker out there, and drivers are going to have to contend with the darkness starting to come in and making life a little bit more difficult on those brake markers. Stephen Milano James of the Cyber Racing, hoping to put a big impact. First time he's high up in the field in the starting order in a very long time. This time he's hoping for it to make a big impact. He knows what he needs to do against the 488 in the 296. And this is old versus new at the current moment as they round the final corner, staring at the start-finish line. And here it goes. Lights on, lights on, lights on, waiting for the green from Jeff as we ready to go. Lights on, lights on. Hanso Fast ready to get the jump as well. And away they go. Heading into turn 1, Christoph Peterson, a fantastic lunge off the line, getting ahead of Sean Skitter, who tucks in nice and neatly behind. So fast, even Milano James has got Ernest Lundbergs holding on the inside as Ben Hicks is going to try and capitalize through Maggots and Beckett's. Couldn't quite get it done. Jason Farmer getting a far better drive, unfortunately having to go a little bit harder onto the brakes to avoid any contact. Paul Fenter venturing off into the middle of nowhere as he tried to catch up to Martin Spritz on the way through. A little bit of contact between Lucas Collab and Chris Wall, but it is side-by-side action, going 3-4 cars wide. And take a look at Miles Stone up on the inside. He's going to hunt it all the way through and try and get the passes done as he tries to look to get past Lucas Collab and Chris Wall. Not able to get past just as yet. Lucas Collab runs out a little bit wide. Chris Wall going to go and block the nose off to ensure there is a bit of a defense. Aaron Shingle getting ahead of Ruin Heineke, holding the inside apex at this moment, and will continue on the drive, straight lining it with the Ferraris, absolutely going and brute forcing their way through. Change up at the front. Stephen Milano James getting past Sean Skitter, and that is loud. Ernest Lundbergs and Ben Hicks to get into the fight as well as they start snaking their way through, trying to get the power on. Jason Farmer running a little bit deep under the braking zone, unfortunately losing out that little bit of time. Martin Spritzer capitalizing, gets onto the back of him, but knows Paul Fenter's there. But we have got problems in the back. David Schuton and Glenn Smith going, and Hanso Foss, it is carnage that's happened out at the back. Unfortunately, a couple of drivers getting caught out. Let's see if we can quickly go back to a replay. And this is the 2ID team of Glenn Smith. What on earth happened to him? So under braking, trying to get the car all sorted out, and suddenly arriving on the scene, I think, oh, there's the turnaround. Unfortunately, one of the ERA highway patrols, and he's stuck in the middle of the circuit. Everyone having to do some evasive maneuvers. Unfortunately, quite a few contacts. Stephen Milano James, though, has gone off into the weeds, and that is the 787 that's now gone venturing into the weeds. So let's quickly try and see if we can take a look at what happened to the 787. Replay system, please don't break on me. But here's Stephen Milano James trying everything he can. He had Sean Skitter on the back of him. Sean Skitter in the tow, looking for the inside line, and Stephen Milano James, oh, a little bit of contact between the two of them, and still able to get it going. A beautiful pirouette on the way through, but Sean Skitter up into 4th place. But Ben Hicks was the ultimate winner on that one, taking 3rd. Sean Skitter trying to battle back. And there is Jason Farr, Martin Spritzer, and Paul Fenter. Stephen Milano James down in 8th. Tires are going to be hurt at this point as he tries to contend with the pace. Skurt Reynolds on to the back of him will be trying to make up some time. And leader of our golds, though, Aaron Shingle, now trying to pull away from Miles Stone, who had a phenomenal launch off the line. Unfortunately, just couldn't keep it through, and now needs to put the hammer down. He's got Nico Lawrence for a bit of company on their way through. Ben Hicks trying to contend and hold his position with Sean Skitter, Jason Farmer, and Martin Spritzer having a good go at one another. Tomo Malami having a bit of a moment with Hanso Foss getting turned round, and Hanso Foss down into 21st position, is able to get going, but that's Bentley looking a little bit more second. And along with Finfin Holland and Marco Vergo also getting caught up in a bit of entanglement. So some drivers are not having an easy time out there. Federico Calgero is down the order. He's had a bit of a problem and now at the back of the field. Sean Skitter, hard on the tail of Ben Hicks, is now going to try and make up as much momentum as possible as they hunt their way down. Paul Fenter trying to look for the inside of the likes of Martin Spritzer. He's not able to get the drive just as yet, but definitely hoping to get the hammer down early on, and will stay in for the fight as long as possible. The utmost concentration coming out is definitely palpable, and he sees that he needs to put the hammer down, fighting his way through. You can see how much work soaring away at the wheel, now just battling to get into the slipstream in that Banana Express, losing out a bit of time through Magnuson Beckett to the likes of Martin Spritzer on the way through, and we'll have to try and hang on a little bit longer. Runs out a little bit wide. Very serious face there for the likes of Paul Fenter as he tries everything to pick up the pace, lying in 7th position. Jason Farmer, on the other hand, has been on a proper charge to launch his way through. He's currently in 5th place with Sean Skitter just ahead of him. Now, he's seen what Sean Skitter had that earlier bit of contact. He knows that there's a bit of damage on the nose that he can contend with and try and fight it out. Skurt Reynolds in the Mustang, a little bit further down than where he wanted to be. Aaron Shingle and Nico Lawrence keeping him a lot for company at this point, as we do have a bit of contact between Christoph Rolotsky and Rob van der Heever of the Griffin Sim Racing team. Rob now having to deal with Glenn Smith of the 2ID team down in 34th. Couple of pit stops are happening. Deb Borschke, Federico Calgero, and Finley Gamble down into the pits, getting themselves sorted out, and will be heading out onto the track, getting that mandatory stop sorted and going with just over 5 minutes of racing. A bit of damage on the cars definitely were being done and repaired, but now it's to run it through to the end. John Spriggs and Ulrich Diaga fighting out for 18th and 17th position as it stands, as the grid starts to open up, as everyone's finding their groove around the circuit. Now, this is where it does tend to change up here at Silverstone. Everyone tends to get into their own little groove, try and keep themselves going. And also, you're aiming for lap times. You're not aiming for positions. You want to try and keep that consistency the whole way through. And this track is all about rhythms. You know, the moment you get thrown off that rhythm is the moment you're out of luck. Sean Skitter being one of those drivers that's lost a little bit of rhythm, has Martin Spritzer right onto the back of him, and he's got Paul Fenter for company. And Paul is hunting for that position. He's going to be looking for the inside line, backed out of it. The Aston Martin not going and winning on the brakes, but he's got Stephen Milano James, who's on for the fight, runs out a bit wide, and Stephen Milano James has got a lot to say to Sean Skitter at the moment, and will be hunting his way through to try and get on by. They had earlier contact, which then landed up going a little bit more down the road as well. So Paul Fenter's in a bit of a sandwich at the moment, with Stephen Milano James now gaining a lot of pace on the running order. Ernest Lundberg's off into the dirt, getting a little bit uncomfortable on his way through with the 488, and will be trying to just keep it in check. He's got Ben Hicks on the back of him, and we'll have to try and contend with the likes of Ben Hicks. He's able to go and utilize the rotation of that 488 to get a little bit more run out of the corners. You can see utilizing the Fanatec DD base, and fantastic. See, I'm sure that's got the performance booster that gives it 8 Newton meters. That's always great to see. And also not utilizing a formula rim, he's got a round rim, as it provides a little bit more control and also a bit more versatility for the types of racing games. At the moment though, in second place, he's got 5 seconds on his times to contend with. He's going to have to figure out how that's going to work for him. Stephen Milano James has gotten past Paul Fenton. Now Paul is going to hunt him down to keep it in check, and Stephen Milano James is chasing down Martin Spritzer. So it was a little bit of a close in terms of the two, but Paul Fenter opting not to fight out with Stephen Milano James, instead utilize the tow on the way through. He knows that his target is Martin Spritzer, who leads out the Platinums at the moment, and will need to try and figure out how he can get by. And if it means utilizing a quicker car to go and be that battering ram, oh, it will be the case. Aaron Shingle, on the other hand, lying into that top 10, does not want to fall out of the top 10, is chasing down Skirt Reynolds, the Ford Mustang, having a bit of a problem. Nico Lawrence having Chris Wall hunting him down at the moment, and Chris Wall not backing down from the fight. Will see a proper late on the brakes to get that Mustang into the fight, hoping that it's going to be the best he can at this moment as he battles his way through. Nico keeping it very defensive on the way through. Chris keeping the concentration up, keeping the rhythm at this current point, but you can see in the background Miles Stone is bringing a train along as well. So Chris has got to be so careful not to get this all upset and keep the pressure onto Nico Lawrence, along with Aaron Shingle, who's just up the road trying to get a little bit more of a pass done. So drivers are still hampering and fighting their way through. Aaron Shingle at this point is not fighting with any of the drivers ahead of him for class position, but he knows that Milestone is keeping close and will be hunting down the opportunity to get the pass done and dusted, and will be looking to try and get as much of a gap as possible. Remember, he's got 15 seconds that he needs to serve for that success penalty. So the Stunt Possum Racing Stang will have to keep that in check. The Griffin Sim Racing team, well, the team Sarko has got Ruan Heineke on the back of him, and Heineke has got David Young fighting him out. Tomo Malami a little bit further down is in 16th. Ulrich Diaga has got John Spriggs for a bit of company as they make their way through. Christian Fengler has got Lucas Collab on the way through. Jens Nelson now into the pit to get himself done and dusted and back out on circuit. So he's hoping to get that pit stop sorted out and to be back into the racing as it stands. Taking a look though, I think we have got quite a few little bit of retirements that have come into the race. One of it being one of our newer drivers who was making his debut, got caught out in a bit of the earlier contact, and unfortunately seems to be out of the race. Hopefully they can get that car sorted out and back into the race. And just taking a look at Shergill. So I'm got to get that one right. So it's Aaron Shergill. There we go. So do apologize for that. Aaron Shergill of the Cyber Racing team into the tow, leading out the golds, will be fighting his way through, hopefully to make a big impact on the way. So Aaron's going to be hoping that he stays in for the fight here, and it's going to be a proper run down to the wire between them all. Stephen Milano James, though, however, is on the back of Martin Spritzer. Now, remember, Martin is leading the Platinum class. Stephen Milano James needs to catch up to Sean Skitter to be able to get that pass done and dusted and be part of the racing action yet again. So much needs to be done in an hour, and drivers still needing to do those mandatory pit stops with the success penalties that come in. Remember, if you got first place in the last round, you get 15 seconds, second place got 10 seconds, and third got 5 seconds. That gets added onto your time. So bear that in mind while you are taking a look. The only one that has got massive penalties onto him is Skurt Reynolds, as we do see Stephen Milano James trying to look for the inside line. Martin Spritzer taking a bit of a wider line. He's able to keep it all and go and power his way through. Now, Martin Spritzer needs to keep Stephen Milano James in behind him to hold Paul Fenter at bay. Remember, they're fighting out for the championship here. And unfortunately, it's a no-win situation if you land up getting turned around or making a crucial mistake on the way through. Track limits will be a massive, massive run. Aaron Schugel, a little bit further down, will be going and making some headway as Miles Stone going to be falling down. He's got David Young for a bit of company, but Tarmo Malami will be on the back of him. Now, Tarmo did finish 4th at Donington. He's hoping to carry a lot of the momentum here. He's up into 16th position. David Young, though, is right onto the back of him. It is just going to be a monster run through it all. And let's see if he's going to be able to battle his way through. And just taking a look over to just the virtual grandstands, as David Young going and looking over to the virtual grandstands as well. Not quite the track where you want to go, and taking a very alternative route at this point. Completely alternative route. My heavens, he's just eliminated majority of Silverstone. David Young, not quite where the rest of the track goes. And as he tumbles down the order, filters back into the train, trying to figure out where Silverstone went from driving Silverstone to Monza in just a matter of seconds. Well, that's a first. I've honestly have not seen that before, but hey, when you make a mistake and you got to keep your foot in it, you're keeping your foot in it. Oh, wow. Okay, moving on though. This is Jason Farmer lying in 4th place. He came into this round lying in 7th in the championship. So looking to score some big points here. He's got Ben Hicks to deal with ahead of him. And right behind him, Sean Skitter. Christoph Peterson and Lundberg, they have now opened up the gap to the rest of the field and will be looking to try and power their way through. Stephen Milano James, however, still hunting down Martin Spritzer, who is not having an easy time out there. And Martin needing to just try and keep the momentum for the Track Tool team. Remember, there is multiple championships behind this race. There is our Platinum Golds and our team championships, and also manufacturers. Chris Wall around the outside. Now it's got the inside line. Can he hold it though? Drives over the apex. A little bit understeer creeping in for both cars. Nico Lawrence doing everything he can to contend, and beautifully done by both drivers. But it is a drag race through. Unfortunately, the Mustang will win that and carry a lot of momentum through. That was absolutely superb for the drivers. And, whoa, Ruben Heineke, long since into the wall, missed his braking mark, and that was a very peculiar mistake for him, as we do have another one. This is Marco Vergo. He was onto the back of Hanso Foss at the time, trying to carry a lot of momentum, running out a little bit wide, most probably into the marbles. Oh, there's the dirt, there's the grass, and nearly doing the same as Heineke, who's rejoined the circuit down in 25th position. But Ruben Heineke having a big moment that he's having to contend with 169. And let's quickly try and get an idea of what happened. Let's jump on board with him, heading into the corner. So he sees Chris Wall getting past. He decides, all right, he's going to be part of this. Getting nice and close. Ooh, upsets over the grass. Battling to keep it all. Tap on the grass. Spins it out. Down the gears he goes. And there's the impact. Unfortunately, accident started roughly about 2 corners before we caught it out on camera. So not an easy time out there. And drivers starting to feel it as darkness befalls the track here at Silverstone. making life a little bit more interesting. Glenn Smith onto the back of Cedric Moore, as we do see Lucas Collab and Van Thuren into the pits. So they're getting themselves sorted. David Young as well into pit lane to get himself sorted. That being said, let's see who's gained and lost at this point, because Ernest Lundberg has gained 2 positions off the start of the race, started in 4th, remember, as he battles to try and catch up to Christoph Peterson. And so far, biggest gain has to be Christian Fengler. Now, been silently chipping away at the moment, down in 16th position, but remember, started out in 27th. So he's up 11 positions from where he started, keeping a very close contention at the moment, hopefully to just try and keep it on the road, and wants to try and keep it all together. Biggest loss, however, is Ruben Heineke after that massive spin that launched him to the other side of Silverstone. He was going and visiting the Queen at that point. He's down in 29th. He's lost 17 positions since the start of the race, and will be hoping to gain a little bit more time after that. So big changes coming through, and drivers pushing a little bit harder. Scott Reynolds dealing with the likes of Aaron Schigel, and Aaron going to be fighting his way through. Looks for the inside. Aaron not having an easy time out there behind the Mustang, but not pushing too hard. He knows that Miles Stone is behind him. That's all he needs to do, along with John Spriggs, who has got that 10-second penalty for success. He came second in the last round in the Castrol colours of the Acura, hoping that he can just battle his way through. So it's going to be a very tight run at the moment for the two of them. The Gold Championship at the moment is David Roth, who leads out the championship. Miles Stone is tied in second. Ulrich de Jager is running third. So for likes of Aaron, who's all the way down in 11th, this is crucial points for him to get back into a championship fight, as he closes up on Scott Reynolds out of Maggots and Beckett. And that Ferrari is not holding back up against the Ford Mustang. Looking up on the inside, Reynolds not backing down at the moment. And Scott Reynolds will be defending like there is no tomorrow. Remember, he's got that 30-second penalty to contend with. And here is the likes of Chris Wall, who has been on an outright charge to just try and improve his times. And Chris, who is going and bringing back after a bit of a devastating run at Donington, will now look to put the pressure back onto Aaron on the way through as they fight it out. Now, Chris is wanting to get in that top 10, and Aaron is getting into that way, but the Ferrari having a great run. Stephen Milano James still contending with leader of our Platinum class is Martin Spritzer, who is lying in 6th at the moment. Stephen Milano James just not having the drive on the Lamborghini that's able to outwit and outmaneuver the other mid-engine monsters, and hoping that it's going to help keep it going. David Schutten, a little bit further down in 20th, is onto the back of Finn van Holland, as the two ERA Highway Patrol now having a bit of a skirmish with one another. And Finn van Holland, who is just trying to keep the power down, the Porsche 992, hoping that its inline will deal with the likes of, well, it's flat to deal with the likes of David Schutten. Well, they just a bit of a change over there. Schutten saying, listen, buddy, I'm going to get on by, going to take my inline 6 BMW M4, and I'm going to put the power down and utilize everything. You get into the tow and get pulled along. Christoph Peterson, big moment for him, into pit lane and now serving his time. So that is our lead, well, was leader of the race, who's now going and in the pits. Ernest Lundberg will be leading out the pack at the moment, and he's got Ben Hicks for company. So now for all the likes of Ernest, he's going to have to really keep the momentum going. And this is also the thought of what's happening to the likes of what Christoph Peterson is going to be. So this is always a challenging one. Ernest Lundberg's going out very wide, trying to keep the power down, doing everything he can. Ben Hicks falling a little bit back. And we've got Jason Farmer trying to keep for company, lying in 3rd place at the moment. This is quite a high position for him, but has been on the climb on the way through. So, I mean, this is going to be just a wild one. On the brakes, Ben Hicks trying to make up as much time as possible. As Sean Skitter down in 4th place will be waiting for his opportunity. But the question is, where does Peterson come out in this field? And he comes out now lying in 28th position 49.5 seconds stopped in the box. Remember, he had that 15-second success penalty to serve. He served it, plus got a new set of tires and fuel, got himself sorted, and back out on track. He's got a lot of hard work and leads out those that have done their pit stops. Lucas Kolab, Jens Nelson, Ulrich de Jager, Ruan Heineke, the likes of Van Vuren and Colgero are lying down in 34th. We've had a couple of drivers, unfortunately, going and landing up with a bit of a problem and are out of the race. Jason Farmer next dive into the pits, but Aaron Schegel going and losing out to Chris Wall. Now, seemingly a little bit of contact between the two. Let's actually go take a look. So this is Chris Wall with Aaron just ahead of him. Now, Aaron was on the back of Skurt Reynolds in that Mustang, trying everything he can, and I think Chris Wall saw an opportunity to get on by. There's the door open. Unfortunately, understeer comes in, a little bit of a lean on the two. Secondary contact where Aaron's able to bring it back, but Chris going and just being that brick wall was able to keep going. I mean, this is just turning into a wild one, and now drivers having to think that little bit more. 37 minutes and 23 seconds to go. Stephen Milano James now dealing with the likes of Mon Spritzer. The Track Tool team have been on the wild run at this moment to gain some time, and currently leading out the Platinum class. He's going to be keeping an eye on Paul Fenter, who will be just chasing down, looming in the wings at this moment to see where he can get some pace onto him. Paul Fenter onto the back of Stephen Milano James, does not want to be caught out and wants to stay on the power all the way through. So still some wild action indeed. Looks around the outside, had to go and brake a little bit later. They're not too comfortable with the car and not too comfortable being stuck where he is, hoping to gain just a little bit more momentum. He was line 0.2, unfortunately getting two corners out of shape. He's having to just try and bring it all the way back. Keeping the hammer down on the way through. The Aston Martin now needs to take a big look to get around Stephen Milano James. You can see the concentration bleeding through from our drivers as they try and keep it all up towards the front. And you've got Chris Wall, who is now putting the pressure right onto Skurt Reynolds. It's the two Mustangs that are going to be fighting each other out, and Skurt not going to back down from this fight. Chris Wall hopefully trying to get into the slipstream, pull himself along, but might be eyeing out an opportunity to get into the pits as much as possible. Nico Lawrence onto the back of Aaron at the moment, who will be contending with a bit of damage to his car after that little light contact. Might be just a few seconds, but it's a few seconds too many, that some would say. Paul Fenter now into the toe, out of Magaton Beckett's, into the big slipstream of Stephen Milano James. Going to go around the outside into the darkness of the night. Going to really try and put the Aston Martin through his paces, hoping for a bit of a cutback. Unfortunately, not able to do it. Stephen goes and defends the inside line, switches out to the outside. Paul Fenter hunting left and right, trying to see where he can go here. And Stephen Milano James is not going to back down. He's going to keep on the power, keep accelerating, and get out of Dodge quicker than ever. Skurt Reynolds dealing with Chris Wall at the moment. And now, remember, this is for the Platinum class. Martin Spritzer leads out with Paul Fenter in second. Reynolds hoping to hold on to third of class. Chris Wall looking to get some major points here. He's been having a bit of an off season, so to get onto the podium here at Silverstone, his home country, is going to be everything needed to boost the confidence at this point on the way through. And hopefully you guys out there in the virtual grandstands are loving all the action, but I'd highly suggest you start turning on those headlamps, because it is getting quite dark out on the circuit as we're heading closer towards 10 o'clock in some time. And you can see how drivers are relying on those headlights as much as possible, really battling out. If we go and take a look at our leader, Ernest Lundbergs, and take a look at his helmet cam, there's not much to be seen other than a car in the distance, a flicker of the dirt coming through, but he is relying on those headlights working, and as he soars away at the wheel, trying to keep it all in check to power his way through. Never an easy time, and your brake markers tend to disappear, and it is going to be a wild one. Taking a look though, we have got quite a few out in the virtual grandstands got the likes of Liam Swinburne coming out of his endurance race at Spa and saying that he's got his mining hat ready to have some fun and keep an eye on the action. Pit crews are still at the waiting ready. Remember that we have to keep an eye out on one driver, Christoph Peterson, as we do see Milestone, Paul Venter, and Rob van Heerden into the pits. Here comes Christoph Peterson, though, looking to usurp them all and move up into 23rd. He was an early pit stop from our top 5 and now making his way through. So he's up into 23rd, and he's got the likes of Sebastian Robson right on chasing. We've got Christoph Rolotsky trying to do everything he can. David Schutten, though, big blow for the ERA Highway Patrol. 4 track limits exceeded, drive-through penalty coming in. Miles Stone, our championship contender, getting a stop-go 30-second penalty for speeding in pit lane. That is unfortunately going to really throw him down the order and take him out of the championship fight for round 4. And going to have to rely on the drop rounds and some improvements here. Another drive-through penalty coming for Rob van Heerden for a drive-through for track limits. I mean, this is just turning into a nightmare for some of the drivers. But the question is, how many more are running into the same problem? Martin into the pits. Chris Wall, Aaron into the pits as well. Nico Lawrence dives in as it becomes rush hour traffic in the Silverstone pit lane. Christoph Peterson down in 23rd, will be gaining some time here. Ernest Umbrig's up in first place, will be trying to break away. He's got 5 seconds that he needs to serve, plus do his pit stop. How far can he go into this race? How far can he keep ahead of Christoph Peterson? John Spriggs out on the circuit's got 10 seconds to contend with. At the moment, going to be smiling on his way through. He's in 8th with Christian Fengler just ahead of him. And John Spriggs is 2nd of our gold drivers, hoping to really put the power down. Cedric Muir a little bit further down. He's got Matt Burleson, who actually is one of our new drivers. I do want to apologize. I thought he was out of the race, but he's been on the climb. Matt Morrison, who has been a new name to the field, so far has gained 15 positions, while Cedric Muir behind him has gained 21 positions off the start of the race. And being a debut outing for Matt, he is on an absolute charge of note to really get himself going and put himself out on the map, looking to get in the top 10. Well, Cedric's going to put a big damper on that, as both fighting in the gold class, and Cedric for Elias Red Bull Miami team will be hanging in to battle his way through. So great racing on there. But now Christoph Peterson up into 15th. 30 minutes to go, and our top 14 are yet to get in the pits. Well, saying that, Ernest Umbergs dives into the pits. Ben Hicks dives into the pits. Sean Skitter is going to stay out and carry on leading out the race. He's going tank to tank on this one. Stephen Milana James into the pits as well. And let's see if Scott Reynolds is going to decide to get in the pits. And no, he's going to keep on the power and still lead out the class. He's got 30 seconds to contend with, and he's going to utilize every bit of it. Tomo Malami down in 6th position, hunting him down, looking for an opportunity here. He's got 15 seconds to contend with, and at the moment is only 3.4 seconds behind as he powers his way through. You can see the concentration on the driver as he maneuvers through Maggots and Beckett, hoping that he's got just enough pace in that Lexus to fight it out against the big block of the Ford Mustang. It's a small block versus a big block. It is a Ford Mustang versus the Lexus V8 that has gone and won the hearts of so many. But Ben Hicks, Finn Van Hollen, John Spriggs, Stephen Milan, James, Matt Morrison, Cedric Muir, Christian Fengler, all into the pits. Christoph Peterson bounces his way up into the top 8 at this point and is going and gaining a lot of time on the way through. Ben trying to hold this position out in 9th place after serving his pit stop, so he's in for a good climb. Jason Farmer into that top 10, but now it is from Glenn Smith to Ernest Lundbergs that need to get into the pits. The rest of the field has already served their pit stops. They've done and dusted it. How long can they go? Sean Skitter going to carry on the power. Scott Reynolds up into second place, leading out the Platinum class. Sean Skitter leading out the Diamond class, as we got John Spriggs leading out the Gold class at the moment. Tom O'Malami up into third, will be inheriting the first of the Platinums if he can keep ahead of Martin Spritzer on the pit exit. Hanso Foss is a driver we haven't spoken much about. He was part of earlier contact, the only Bentley out on the circuit, into the top 4, and is really powering his way through. I mean, this is just going to be a proper run for him to try and keep it all in check. He's got Lewis Knight hunting him down, and there we go. Scott Reynolds and Tom O'Malami into pit lane, trying to get themselves sorted out. Reynolds has not been able to break away from Malami, who's now going to be right on to the back of him. Skitter going tank to tank at the moment to try and run his way through. Glenn Smith in the 2ID team in the Ferrari 296 is the last of those that needs to go through pit lane. He's up into third, going and pushing a little bit further, but Christoph Peterson going to be smiling as he makes his way around the circuit, absolutely blasting by, will gain into fourth position, and this, unfortunately, is going to be a nightmare case for Ernest Lundbergs, who's down in seventh. He's got Jason Farmer just ahead of him. Ernest Lundbergs really needs to get the hammer down here, as Jason Farmer is his next contention, along with Ben Hicks, before he can even get remotely close to Peterson. So Lundbergs needs to put the hammer down. Oh, missing out the corner. Runs out a bit wide, trying to rejoin nice and safely through Maggots and Beckett, and unfortunately losing out a monstrous amount of times. That's also brought in Stephen Milano James into the fight. Martin Spritzer, though, having a go with Paul Fenter as the two hunt each other down, and Martin is not going to back down. Paul Fenter's going to have to think long and hard about this one and see where he's going to get on by. Late on the brakes, dives for the inside line, couldn't quite get it sorted out. Martin, hoping that he can try and keep the battle up and going, will try and stress out Paul Fenter, who's currently on the screen. Paul the Wolf Fenter needing to get past the track tool Lamborghini of Martin Spritzer, and Paul is not backing down. Sean Skitter into the pits. Martin diving to the inside, holding the inside line. Quick switch up, coming around, and you can see Paul Fenter hunting down, trying to figure out where can he go at this point to get past this Lamborghini, jumping on board, and Paul is soaring away at the wheel, trying to run through. Little kiddo going and also diving to go and enjoy the action as his dad relaxing as he drives through. A quick deep breath coming in, unfortunately losing a lot of time in the process to the likes. And there is our drivers just doing everything they can to keep on going in these very, very dark conditions here at Silverstone. For round 4, Lewis Knight into the pits, Sean Skitter into the pits, Glenn Smith, the only car that has not pitted out on circuit, is now leading the race with the likes of Christoph Peterson up into second, with Ben Hicks into third. Ben trying to keep on the power is only 2.3 seconds off the back of him. Jason Farmer has got Ernest Lundbergs, who lost out that little bit of time, and has got Sean Skitter, into the dirt, trying to rejoin, and it's side by side with Stephen Milano James. These two had earlier contact. Is it going to be enough now? Sean Skitter just rejoining, got a little bit of dirt on those tires, and now Stephen Milano James will be looking to try and power his way through at the moment. Skitter into the slipstream, trying to keep it nice and tight, going to be blocking for the apex, hard on the anchors, and that Ferrari looking all hooked up at the moment. Sean trying everything he can to battle it out for the Diamond class, but Glenn Smith leading out the race won't be for too much longer once he gets into the box. For our fight of our Platinums, Martin Spritzer and Paul Fenter are fighting out for first and second, along with Chris Wall holding third place of the Logistical Nightmare Racing team, finally getting a break at the moment for having some tough times out there. In 12th position, it's Aaron Schigel who leads out our gold, and we've got Marco Vergo, who is second of our gold. Finn van Holland down in 19th is third of our gold. So this is going to be a proper
proper run on the way through.
So the driver's really putting the hammer down at the moment, and it is just going and fighting the way through. Bit of love coming in for Hanso Voss, who is out in the Bentley, trying to put the hammer down and keep going, which is always great to see. Hanso Voss, one of the very few drivers that go back to the old faithful of the Bentley, and sporting the 71 number on the side. Glenn Smith finally into the pits. That means Christoph Peterson now reclaims the lead of the race, with Ben Hicks in second place and Jason Farmer up into third place, 18 laps in, and drivers needing to really put the hammer down. 22 minutes left of this race, an hour's race worth going on. Mandatory pit stops now served, and drivers are to put the hammer down all the way through. Ernest Lundberg's into the dirt and out. Lundberg's is out of the race, and that is it. Retirement. Something has gone horribly wrong for him. And taking a look to our driver cams, unfortunately, he is out. I can confirm that. That is devastating news. I mean, that is just absolutely heartbreaking. Ernest Lundberg, who was on the rails on the way through for the 488, has retired the car, and I really do hope, and this is a call out to him, to just get that Ferrari back out there, to carry on, to just get that little bit of momentum, stay in for the fight. I mean, can't let it go down like this. Lundberg has been in a proper charge all time long, and now can't drop out like that. As we see Ulrich Diaga dealing with the likes of John Spriggs, Christoph Rolotsky, and Sebastian Ribson going after him. And Sebastian not backing down from the fight, really trying to close up, late on the brakes, trying to fishtail all over the show at the moment, onto the back of Christoph Rolotsky, who's holding the inside line with that Lamborghini. Can't put the hammer down just as yet. John Spriggs and Ulrich Diaga fighting out for class position just ahead of him, and Spriggs is not going to be backing down. Diaga going to go around the outside. Spriggs looks for the inside, couldn't get it sorted out, has to battle his way through, and that is just a huge run. Oh, big tank slapper coming out for Sebastian into the dirt. Rolotsky getting caught out as well in that mix. And it is John Spriggs who gets the big win on it all, overtaking all three drivers to lock in that 20th place, and now is putting the hammer down to get out of Dodge as fast as possible. I mean, this is just a wild, wild run. That is for certain. Cedric Muir and Matt Milson are having a great time. And for a debut outing, down in 25th position, he is in for a great fight. Unfortunately, Ulrich Diaga of the Griffin Sim Racing down on Sebastian Sim at the moment. And now we'll have to try and catch up. The Denza BMW will be putting down the hammer and trying to make up some time at the moment. Really battling their way through. And it's great to see the drivers are having a bit of fun out there, but visibility is definitely going up in smoke. And once you got cars sitting in your rearview mirrors, it gets a little bit busy. It gets a bit wild. And let's take a look from the helmet cam and see how busy it actually gets behind the wheel. You have our rearview mirrors. Oh, a bit of dirt getting kicked up from Rolotsky as Sebastian now having to contend with Ulrich Diaga. You can see the headlights in the side mirrors, in the middle mirror, all going and bugging him, just keeping an eye on it. Brake markers disappearing, quick change happening to just move around with TC and brake bias, just doing everything he can, settle the car down and carry on the fight on the way through. So it's still so much to go on in this race, still so much close racing action, and no one able to get in for the fight. Cedric Muir onto the back of Matt Mellison, and Matt having a great time out there to battle his way through. So far, leading out the race, Christoph Peterson with a 2.6 second lead over Ben Hicks, and Jason Farmer lying in third. Martin Spritzer running in sixth position is first of the Platinum class, with Paul Fenter in second of the Platinum class, only 0.4 of a second. Chris Wall right onto the back of him, and Paul Fenter gaining a lot of time, really utilizing the pace. Martin having to just try and defend, switching out nose to tail through Maggots and Beckett's. Paul just saying, okay, buddy, you want to play like that? Let's move through. Stephen Milano James losing out time. Jason Farmer up into third place.
And a drive-through penalty for Stephen Milano James. After all that he has done, a track limit. And it's going to be an absolute monster. I mean, this is just going to be a wild run. And I just can't believe it. Drive-through penalty for the likes of Stephen Milano James in the last 20 minutes of the race is going to be jumping down and possibly out of the top 10 on the way through. Paul Venter and Martin Spritzer having a good go at one another, fighting out for class position. Aaron Schigel, who is fighting in the gold division, no one ahead of him to deal with at the moment. 3.9 seconds behind Nico Lawrence, and Lucas Collab lying 4 seconds behind. But Stephen Milano James is going to be frustrated behind that steering wheel and going to be pushing a little bit harder. He's got 3 laps to serve the penalty to get it done and dusted. And what he can do now is make life a little bit difficult for Sean Skitter as they make their way through. Sean Skitter will be hoping to get the pass done and dusted a bit easier, but I don't think it's going to be too much of the case. Bit of a fight going on is Marco Vergo of the ERA Highway Patrol, along with Tomo Malami going and fighting out in 15th position. Finn Holland hoping to hold back the likes of Lewis Knight. It's the Porsche versus the Godzilla of the Good Smile Racing. Lewis Knight onto the back of him and looking to stay in for the long haul here. Listen, now just one of the older cars, and unfortunately being one of the very few cars that's sitting on the grid that is no longer manufactured by the factory itself. Tomo getting a little bit out of shape, has to try and pull himself back together behind Marco Vergo. That little bit of aero wash unsettling the car, and now having to just see where he can go. Paul Venter now having another go at Monspritzer. Into the toe he goes. 0.2 of a second. Looks for the inside. Switches round. Couldn't do it. Does pull a dummy. Tries to go back. Side by side they go. Leaned on one another. Martin Spritzer tried to move back to defend the line. And Paul Venter saying, thank you very much, buddy. He's going to carry on the momentum. He's going to keep going all the way through. Martin's going to try the outside. Couldn't quite get it hitched in. He's going to try and do a little bit of a cutback. Oh, Paul Venter off circuit. Outbraked himself. Side by side they go. And you can see how these two drivers are leaving nothing to chance at the moment. Martin Spritzer stuck on the outside. Paul trying to squeeze back to hold the line. Dives in for the inside line. He manages to do it. You can see utmost concentration coming in. But he has got Chris Wall coming close for company. Martin hopefully trying to get the pass done and dusted. Looks around the outside. The track tool team not having an easy time. Takes it a little bit wider. Tries to straighten out the corner. Paul Venter trying everything he can to hold the position as much as possible, as Martin having a good go at him. A big smile on the face for Paul as he looks in the rearview mirror and sees that his teammate now finally coming to join in the party as they fight it out for top 3 of the Platinums. Always fantastic to see that final shot there and battling their way through. Martin runs out a bit wide. Chris Wall now getting as close as he can for the fight. Will not be backing down, and it's going to be a proper run. And drivers fighting their way through in for the mix. Stephen Milano James onto the back of Jason Farmer. Remember, he's got that drive-through penalty he's got to contend with, but he is 0.4 of a second trying to fight for overall track position. But it's our top 3 of our Platinums that are all over the back of one another and are really pushing in for a fight. Martin Spritzer, in the worst circumstance possible, is now stuck between the teammates, and Nico Lawrence is starting to make up a bit of time here. Now, Nico is in the same class, but is part of the track tool team. He can be the deciding factor on it as Chris Wall goes up on the inside of Martin Spritzer, looks around the outside, trying to battle it out. Hard on the anchors, slings the Mustang right across the nose of Martin. Unfortunately, couldn't get it done and dusted to get the momentum out and sorted. Here comes Martin back on the inside, just trying to push harder, and Chris going a little bit over the dirt there. Has to be very cautious with track limits, but Chris Wall up into second place. Eleanor currently holding a 1-2 in their running order for the class position. Glenn Smith and Hanzo Foss of fighting out for 17th and 16th position in the darkness of the night. It is getting wild. It is getting crazy out here at ERA. It is getting to the best part of racing. Hunter Foss battling his way through as he tries to keep the Bentley going. 100 years in motorsport back in 2019. And Hunter Foss has got Glenn Smith really hunting him down. Looks around the outside. Couldn't quite get it done. And there Glenn Smith trying to put his nose in. The 2-eyed ET looking to try and get that Ferrari up on the inside. Couldn't really get the drive. Into the toe they go, pulling each other along. A little bit further. Couldn't quite get it done. Stephen Milano-James now serving his drive-through penalty as he tumbles down the order and unfortunately will be losing out. Tons and tons of room there. Glenn Smith and Hunter Foss are going to be finding out, and looks like we may have actually lost the likes of Stephen Milano-James, unfortunately. I think they might have just retired the car, which is just... oh, that's upsetting, to be honest. It was on such a stellar drive, got back into the fights, really put the hammer down, and unfortunately just not able to get it across the line. I do really hope they can get that car back out on circuit. Glenn Smith a little bit upset with Hanzo Foss not giving too much room there, but is putting the hammer down. Very close racing, very fair racing between them. Finn van Holland and Lewis Knight have having the same issue right behind. So keep an eye on the two trains as they will be closing up on one another, ensuring they stay in for the fight. So it's going to be a wild, wild run. That is for certain. As drivers look to push themselves that a little bit more up the road, seeing if there's going to be any opportunity to make the big impact here. How far are they willing to go at this point to move their way forward in the race? And how far can they carry on the momentum? I mean, this is always the toughest part about a race in the dark, is just pushing yourself that little bit more to carry that momentum through to ensure that you stay in for the mix, stay in for the fight. So Glenn Smith up on the inside, looked around the outside, couldn't get that pass done and dusted, had to wait that little bit more on the throttle, ensuring he carries through. Sean Skitter a little bit further up has got Jason Farmer in his sights. Now Skitter, a former an expat South African, taking on the South African of Jason Farmer, who opens up the door through Magnussen Beckett, and there goes Skitter taking the opportunity, going and slicing the car right in front, ensures that he moves forward and gets it done and dusted at this point to carry on the momentum. Paul Fenter dealing with Chris Wall, who's now catching up and making a bit of time. These two are going to be stressing each other out, along with a bit of communication as well. So Chris Wall hoping to just get any bit of momentum underneath them. A quick look over to the side, and you can see that Paul Fenter is now starting to stress a little bit from his own teammate staying in the wings, looming there, making life a little bit more difficult for them. We'll be hoping to just try and keep out of any bit of trouble possible. Finn van Holland and Lewis Knight still keeping close to one another, and they are absolutely booting it around the track. Glenn Smith getting the pass through Magnussen Beckett, hung so fast down into 16th position. Not going to be smiling there. Will be trying to look for the inside line. Couldn't get the hammer down. Will have to wait just a fraction longer at this point to go and push himself. Lewis Knight going to utilize the straight line horsepower of the Nissan GTR over the 992 Porsche, which is far more nimble on the corners, able to brake later, but just doesn't have the straight line to contend with. And Finn van Holland is now needing to deal with Lewis Knight, who is not going to be finding out. Now, Lewis Knight is in the Platinum class, so he's not racing for class position, but overall position at this point. Matt dealing with Cedric Murr just ahead of him. Ruben Heineke is in for a mix there, and Ulrich de Jager. This is turning into a bit of a four-way battle between it, and Matt looking inside, outside, trying to figure out where he can go around the Red Bull. Cedric not having an easy time. Skurt Reynolds and Christoph Rolotsky are having a fight as well. They're in 21st and 22nd position as they go through. So, I mean, this is getting a bit wild in the lower part of the race. A couple of retirements, unfortunately, out of this race. Definitely not going to be happy campers for that one, but everyone's still trying to figure out what can they do to move forward. How far can they go and battle their way through the road? It is Matt looks for the inside, couldn't quite get past. Cedric holding that inside line in 24th, going and just running out a little bit wide. Matt tried to go for the inside. Cedric holds the defense at the moment, powering his way through, ensuring that he can keep going. Ulrich Diaga is going to be soaking this up and starting to open up that gap. Now a second between them. Matt now looking to push a little bit harder as they carry on the drive, really putting the hammer down. And we do have yet another retirement to the race, unfortunately. One of the drivers not able to see the car through to the end, and it's just got to see these cars get to the end. There's an opportunity to, you need to at least try and put your hat into it. Scott Reynolds and Ulrich Diaga will be going and racing, but Scott Reynolds has got Christoph Rolotsky just ahead of him in the Lamborghini. Lewis Knight and Finn van Hollen side by side. Eventually Finn van Hollen's able to get on by. A little bit of rubbing and racing as per the timing screen. Both just contending at the moment, figuring out where they can go. How far can they push it up the road at this point in the last 7 minutes and 34 seconds of the race? It has been a long, long race here at Silverstone, with the track disappearing into the darkness of the night. Drivers having to push a little bit harder, trying to figure out where they can go. How far can you push to get towards the sharp end of the field? I mean, this is just going to be a proper run for the drivers to really keep that momentum, to keep that pace all the way through. Scott Reynolds and Rolotsky going and maintaining their pace between one another. Everyone else seems to be pretty much on the calmer side. Nico Lawrence going to be fighting for third of the class as he tries to get past the Track Tool team of Martin Spritzer. The two teammates are going to do battle with one another, and this is where it gets a little bit concerning for the team. Is what are you going to do? What's better for the championship, as the two Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evos are putting down the power. Chris Wall all over the back of Paul Fenter as the two of them are just fighting it out at the moment. They're not giving a bit of room. Chris Wall looking to reclaim some positions here and get into that top 5, really putting the focus in and does not want to back down from the fight. Really just trying to put the hammer down at the moment and not having an easy time out there as they fight their way through. As we jump on board for Chris, as he keeps an eye on his teammate, Paul Fenter, dropping a wheel into the dirt, giving an opportunity to just try and close up. And there we go, under braking. That Mustang is just brutal to go and get ahead of the Aston Martin. He's trying to figure out where can he get the drive, where is going to be the opportune moment to do so, and how are they going to keep the momentum going. I mean, this is just wild on the way through for every single one of them. Scott Reynolds hoping to keep the pressure on as Rolotsky around the outside maintains his position. 20th and 21st. Both drivers going to be fighting it all the way through to keep it in check at the moment. And there is no going and giving up at this point. Everyone hoping to get just a little bit more momentum, get a little bit more place. Glenn Smith and Marco Vergo are having a good go at one another. Marco currently lying second of the golds. Doesn't have to fight with Glenn at this point. He will be taking a good run for the class and will be hoping to maintain his pace. So this is still just so much momentum to go. Drivers figuring out what do they need to do in the closing stages of the race. How far are they going to push it? How much have they got left in the tank at this point to just battle it out? Marco for the ERA Highway Patrol will be keeping Glenn Smith at bay between the two of them, really trying to battle it out, and just Glenn looking to maximize his points at the moment on the back of Marco. Now as these two just put the hammer down, really opening up the gap just a fraction more on the way through. Nose to tail, looks around the outside, will be booting it around the outside, going to make life difficult. Glenn Smith tries, Marco comes back at him on the inside, forces him out wide, and Glenn tried to lock in that inside yet again. A quick flash of the light saying, listen buddy, I need to come through. Dives in for the inside, holds the apex, but he's not going to have it for the right. And oh, contact between Marco and Glenn. That was a big moment. And now Glenn losing out. He's going to have to back off. A very clever move to hook it in reverse, try and straighten the car up. But he is down into 18th position after that. John Spriggs getting a position. Lewis Knight and Finn Holland will be happy with that. Hanso Voss was okay. Well, I have my opportunity. I'm going to get going. Unfortunately, though, that was a big moment for Glenn Smith, who is now down the order into 18th position and is really going to be battling to keep the tires into check on the way through. Nose to tail all the way, and unfortunately just couldn't keep it going with that rear contact of Marco Vigo heading into the corner. That under braking twisted him around and landed up with the problem. Christoph Peterson leads out the pack with Ben Hicks and Sean Skitter running in third as it stands in the running order. Jason Farmer is 3 seconds back from Skitter. Paul Fenter has managed to break the back of Chris Wall and has got some breathing room. 1.8 seconds on the way through, and it's going to be a huge run. Martin Spritzer, Nico Lawrence, Aaron Schegel, Lucas Collab, Jens Nelson staying in for the fight as well, as he's going to keep it in for that top 10. Really putting in the power to try and get that Lamborghini underneath Lucas Collab. The two of them side by side. The Cyber Racing team are going and challenging one another. The two teammates not backing down. The Mercedes having to back off and allow Jens Nelson to come through. Lucas Collab down a position. Will have to try and make up some time. He's into 11th. He's out of the top 10. Still in a good position for class, but not going to be happy about being out of that top 10 on the running order. So this is going to be the huge fight between the teammates of Cyber Racing, showing that there isn't team orders between them, that they are willing to put the hammer down on one another and push each other to the limit. Rolotsky dealing with Skurt Reynolds, still there. The Los Pantos Hermanos team dealing with the likes of the Heritage team. The Ford Mustang battling it out on the way through, with Ulrich de Jager hanging in the wings at the moment for the Griffin Sim Racing as they power their way through towards the end. 1 minute and 6 seconds left. Is Christoph Peterson leading out our diamonds, with Ben Hicks and Sean Skitter lying in third. Paul Fenter, Chris Wall, and Martin Spritzer for our platinums. And for our golds, it is Aaron Schegel along with Marco Vigo, who I think is definitely going to get the wooden spoon for that little bit of contact early on. And Finn Van Holland will be running third in the gold. So the drivers at the moment just trying to get it to the line. The fastest lap time of the race was set in the day by Christoph Peterson at 1:58.2. Last lap time was 1:58.6. And he is looking to try and carry the momentum through. Rolotsky going down the order as Matt going and getting past Matt Molson, going and really getting the hammer down. And it looks like Rolotsky lost a bit of drive. The 72 getting out of shape. Let's see if we can quickly bring a replay of what happened. So all looking fine. Maybe just putting a wheel wrong. There is Skurt Reynolds right behind him, managing to get ahead of the Mustang. And Lamborghini, just a snap oversteer, stays out of trouble, flicks into the grass. And unfortunately, that been the loss of position for him to try and bring it back. Ruben Heineke will be next to try and charge after it. Final lap to go. Heineke looking left, looking right, trying to figure out where he can gain a little bit of time. Rolotsky losing out the momentum here. Heineke will look up on the inside, trying to put the hammer down at the moment. Will be battling his way through. Christoph Peterson takes the win here at Silverstone. Ben Hicks will come across in second place. And well done on his part. Sean Skitter will lock down third. Jason Farmer will be in fourth. But everyone's going to be talking about the fight for our platinums, as it is a 1-2 for the Logistical Nightmare Racing team. Paul Fenter and Chris Wall taking first and second as they come across the line. Martin Spritzer, with a hard-fought fight, will take third place in the platinums. Nico Lawrence immediately onto the back of him and powering his way through. And Aaron Schegel taking the win here at Silverstone for the golds. He's going to be happy on this one. Jens Nelson takes 10th. Lucas Collab, along with Tomo Malami, comes across the line in 12th position after a stellar effort. Second place of our gold goes to Marco Vigo, but he's going to have to get looked at by the stewards after the bit of contact, so we'll have to keep an eye on it. But unofficially, he got second. Hanso Foss comes across the line. Finn Van Holland taking third after a hard-fought fight with the likes of Lewis Knight by 0.3 of a second. John Spriggs, along with Glenn Smith. It has been a wild, wild evening, folks. It has been an absolute stellar one, and what a race to the end. I mean, that was just a race of note for our drivers. What a stellar effort. And man, oh man, if you're not out of breath yet, I don't think you'll ever feel that you're out of breath. You're definitely the fittest person in the world, because, man, that had us standing on our feet here in the commentary box. And drivers will be battling their way through. So what we're going to aim to do is bring some of the awesome highlights to you, try and have an interview with our drivers after such a stellar race, and get a bit more information of how this has all gone, how the race has just turned on its head. The racing in the dark was just an exciting effort by all. We hope to see many, many more races coming in for the bit of fun. So, as we wait to get our drivers into the commentary side and have a chat to them, we will take a look at some of the highlight action here at the beautiful Silverstone circuit of the race. And the race start looked all clear for the first little bit. Unfortunately, got a bit wild towards the end, and drivers had to figure out what is the next plan on the running order and how they were able to really keep the momentum going. So drivers had to push themselves beyond the limit of every little bit of capability to get themselves towards the top of the running order here at ERA for Evolution Racing Academy. We got a couple of drivers coming in to have a chat to us, and can't wait to get their feedback on it. And let's start off with our second place of our Platinums, going towards Chris Wall, who is finally had a turn of luck coming in. So as we wait for Chris Wall to come up onto the stage and have a chat to us. Chris, welcome to the commentary box. Welcome. What a result after a season of many, many downs, but now finally hooking in to get second place in class and managing to lock in 6th overall.
Obviously, that didn't go to plan for everything other than tonight, for various reasons. But yeah, no, it was a good race start. Track I know well, Silverstone. The Mustang really works well there. Had a good start. Made a few dive bombs, and then avoided touching the wall.
Absolutely.
Literally and figuratively. So
that's it. And now we got to talk about, you had an opportunity to go for first in class, well, go after your own teammate.
yeah.
Was it a thought in the back of the head to take that lunge, to go for that shot and take away the, well, up towards the sharp end of the order?
I mean, yeah, of course. The thought's always there. I was looking at Paul, noticing he was struggling with initial turning, so there was a few sort of corners I'd earmarked to have a little bit of a pop at him. But ultimately, I'm not in the championship. I'm just racing now for entertainment purposes. I'm not going to make a risky dive bomb unless I'm pretty confident it'll work. And at that point in the race, my tyres were pretty toast. So yeah, the thought was there, but unless Paul made an error, I wasn't going to go for it, and he didn't. He kept his end of the race really clean and put together. So I was never going to throw one down the inside. It would have been too risky.
Well, absolutely well done on your part, and just a stellar effort. Anything you would like to say to all the petrol heads out there in the virtual grandstands that were cheering on throughout the race, standing on the edge of their seat, and also to all our partners here at ERA?
Go home. It's late. It's night time in Silverstone. No, kid. It's been a tough and turbulent season, but I appreciate people sticking by the streams and keeping watching, and everyone behind the scenes that makes the whole clock tick. So congrats to everyone behind the scenes and yourself, Stephen, for the professional level coverage that we do get in here. We're lucky to have it.
Absolutely wonderful. And if you guys are looking for a home to be at, but Chris, great to have you in the commentary box, finally from the car this time round, instead of just going and sitting out. And it looks like the wheel has finally turned in the favor. Good luck for the next round, and well done once again.
Thanks, mate. Thank you very much.
Chris Wall getting that second place in class right behind Paul Fenter. But let's go and bring in our next little bit of a chat. And we've got quite a variety here to have a chat to. It's fantastic. I love it. Let's bring in Paul the Wall Fenter, who managed to lock in that first in class after a hard-fought fight in the Platinums. Paul Fenter, welcome to the commentary box, and well done. What an effort. I'm sure a big smile on the face after that one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was, man, there was some hard fighting there with Spitzer in his Lambo. But yeah, didn't really expect that kind of pace out of the Aston. But yeah, happy with that. And my own teammate making me sweat there for the last 10 minutes. I thought he might, seeing as the Paul and the Wall were basically visiting each other every freaking race, I really thought we were going to have a bit of a sandwich there at some point. But yeah, kept it together and brought home a nice little double podium there for the boys. So yeah, happy days, man. Time to have some tequila.
Oh, absolutely great stuff on the way. And honestly, to see the racing going on, how was it driving into the night? You constantly had battles around you, headlights being in the way. Was it a little bit more difficult?
Yeah, no, absolutely. There was a few times where I couldn't see the brake markers or can't see the patch I'm looking for. So yeah, driving into the night's always got its own little twists and turns and little challenges that comes with it. So yeah, as always, that was quite fun.
It's always a challenging one indeed. Anything you would like to say to all the drivers, to all the fans out there, for just sticking around, seeing all the action, being a part of it? And we do actually have you up on screen as well, so you can wave to the fans out there. Anything you would like to say to everyone here at the ERA for the drivers, teams, and petrol heads in the virtual grandstands?
I just want to say thanks everyone for checking in on streams, watching us, supporting us doing this crazy thing we do on a Sunday night, and to all the guys racing with me. That was fun, quite clean. So yeah, let's do that again next weekend. And Chris, now that you've shown us you don't hit walls and you don't hit Astons, let's go do that again next week. So yeah, thanks for the great racing and commentating, Stephen. And yeah, just thanks to the community and everyone behind the scenes. See you all next week.
Absolutely great stuff. Paul Fenter of our beautiful LNR getting across the line. Fantastic to go and see. But now we are going to say farewell to Paul Fenter, and we'll be moving on to our next set of drivers, and that is our Diamonds, that were in such a stellar effort and really on to the climb, kept us on our toes right the way through. So far, let's have a chat to the next of the LNR drivers, Sean Skitter in the Honda NSX. So let's wait for Sean to just find the main stage and to join us. Sean Skitter, welcome to the commentary box. And not too often we get to have a chat to you, but a third place here at Silverstone, back at home. How are you feeling?
Yeah, no, fantastic. And yeah, it's good to speak to you for a change.
It's always been a bit of a quiet one. But Sean, I mean, take us through the race. You had an up and down battle right the way through. It didn't seem like quite an easy one. A little bit of early contact that landed you a bit further down the field, and came down to a bit of a strategy on pit stops to carry on the momentum. You actually went all the way through. I believe you went tank to tank.
Yeah, so I didn't stretch it quite so far. I think I went to about 25 minutes to go. before I stopped. I did carry a little more extra fuel for that purpose. Just in case I was stuck behind somebody, that I could stretch it out a little bit and then give myself fresher tires towards the end.
And with the race going into the night, did you find it a little bit more challenging, or did you find that the car was coming a little bit more alive? For cooler conditions, turbocharged, always goes well, but obviously headlights becoming a very difficult thing, especially entering into some of these corners here at Silverstone.
Yeah, especially because of the circuit's high-speed nature. Spotting your braking marker becomes a little more difficult as the light changes. And until it's gone properly dark, you're still busy finding your braking marker almost every lap. Just to find that limit of where you can brake again. Then just so the Honda does battle a little bit with tire warm-up at the beginning of a stint. So it kept me on my toes at the start of the race, and then obviously after the pit as well.
Absolutely fantastic stuff on your part, and great driving. Finally having the turn of luck for what's been a tremendous amount of racing, but not much into the results. But you finally got that turn. Anything you want to say to all the drivers, the teams out there, to your own team, to the partners here at ERA, to the admin stewards, and the most importantly, I think you agree with me on this one, is our virtual grandstand with all those absolute amazing petrol heads.
Absolutely. I mean, the appreciation that we get from the virtual grandstands is part of why we do this. And they're invaluable part of this whole thing that we do. And obviously, I just want to thank my team, LNR, and thanks to you and to Evolution Racing Academy for hosting this series. Most of the time, really good driving, nice and clean. I had a little bit of contact, obviously, at the start of my race, but we'll sort that out.
All good. Sean Skitter of Logistical Nightmare Racing going and hooking in that third place. Well done, buddy, on a phenomenal drive.
And thank you for your commentary again.
All good. I'm just here to have fun with everyone and also to enjoy it, because this is just amazing. That being said, though, you got to put your hands up, otherwise you're going to get the cuffs on you. Let's bring in ERA Highway Patrol, Ben Hicks in the BMW M4 GT3. Ben, welcome to the commentary box. What a race on your part, and definitely came down to the wire. How are you feeling hooking in second?
Yeah, that was a crazy race. After the qualifying, where I only got one clear lap, I mean, it was my own fault. I screwed up all the others with track limits. But I got one clear lap. It was on cold tyres. Somehow got fifth, and then just pulled it back in the race. It feels like a lot happened in the race, but I didn't actually end up racing anyone. I don't think. Side to side, anyway.
Well, it was still amazing. Now, how did it feel cutting your way through the traffic? Because there was battles all over, and I'm sure that you were getting all the reports on the radio from your teammates that were in battles. How were you finding to get past a lot of that traffic?
Yeah, so at the start, I was behind Lindbergh's, and I just left. I was trying to leave the gap at just under a second so that he didn't feel the pressure. I knew he had the 5-second penalty, so I'd get him at the pit stop anyway. So I just didn't want to end up fighting and then losing a bunch of time to Chris and then a bunch of time behind us. So I was trying to keep that gap, but he made a few mistakes. I'm not sure I was quick enough to pass anyway. But after the pit stop, I came out in second. I was right behind Chris, so I figured I'd give it a go to push then. But yeah, I had free track warnings from near the beginning of the race, and I was never... I got a bit too close, let's say, a couple of times. So I decided to back off at the end and just settle for the second.
Well, you now stretch the gap over your own teammate. You came in at 34 points. Your teammate, David Schusen, with 32 points. Second in the championship. You're feeling a bit more confident to take on the top of the championship and make sure the ERA Highway Patrol not only goes for the team win, which you guys are currently leading, but also for the driver's standings in Diamond.
Yeah, we're doing well. Second, I'm within touching distance of Chris, but I think he's going to have a bit of a mare in one of the next 3 rounds for me to be able to catch up. But we'll see. Anything can happen.
Oh, fantastic to hear a bit of enthusiasm coming in. And I've got to ask, any final thoughts from your side to everyone out there in the virtual grandstands, to the amazing people here at ERA that's been working tirelessly behind the scenes? For many that don't know, our servers were down, or ACC servers were down, and the admin team put together to try and get all the racing up and going, and big shout out to them for that. Anything you'd like to say to the floor that you got second place?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you to you. Thank you for running the amazing stream. Thank you to everyone watching. Thank you to everyone racing. And thank you to the stewards and the admin team. Actually being able to race while the server's down today is great, and we can use that going forward as well. So that's great work. Amazing. Thank you, everybody.
Fantastic. Ben Hicks of ERA Highway Patrol getting second place here at Silverstone. That being said, we're going to the 488 Ferrari, who is going to be more than happy with his result. Christoph Peterson, welcome to the commentary box, and what a win. How are you feeling after that stellar effort?
I'm cooling down right now. I forgot to open my window, and that was a big mistake. Yeah, I'm really happy that this worked out. I had luck. I really had luck with the free air in the second stint because I gambled a bit on my strategy, but I was pushing to 100% every lap in this race.
Well, it was definitely a charge down to the wire, and lots of battles were ahead of you. Was there any concern of losing a bit of time to the competitors behind you and saying, okay, well, Ben Hicks can catch me now because you're getting fouled up in a 4-car train that were fighting for position?
100%. Like, I committed to going very low on fuel for the start. Something I did like 2 seasons ago at Laguna Seca already. To try and overcome my 15 seconds. And it was like helping a lot, like for us that Skitty was with me on the front row, so we could like sort it out a bit and let me stay ahead for T1 so I can pull a gap. And yeah, like I pulled the 10 seconds, I think, just about before the pit stop, and then came out in free air. I was super happy because I thought like, okay, something might happen like at Zolder last season or something where I get caught up in traffic and I can't pass and stuff. But yeah, had a lot of luck, and then I think my pace was quite good in the first few laps of the second stint, where the others were still struggling on worn tires and maybe fighting. I didn't see if Limbex and Hicks were fighting. But then the tires were just going in the second stint. My car was so heavy compared to the first stint, and I made a few mistakes actually because the car got quite loose on the rears, especially through the fast right-hander, Abbey I think it's called. So yeah, happy that I made it through that.
Well, that being said, Indianapolis, 1 hour, gonna be cold on the 18th of May. What's your game plan heading into the round?
Honestly, I don't know yet. I haven't driven the track since season 11, which is, I guess, like more than half a year ago. The 488 is known to be very, like, that's the best track for the car. So it will be the heaviest all season. And the car is not great with cold temperatures. Like, it keeps its tires really cold at all times. So let's see. Like, I'm learning a lot to like build setups lately. Maybe I can make something work. But I don't know what to expect.
Oh, absolutely phenomenal stuff. That being said, though, anything you'd like to say to all the amazing fans out there in the virtual grandstand that watched into the night, cheering on, and I'm sure as you were going past the grandstands, just seeing them going absolutely mental, and to all the admins here at ERA, to the drivers and teams that participated here tonight, and looking towards the future.
Yeah, thanks for watching, and thanks to everyone in the community, and thanks to the other drivers. Keep pushing. We're having a good season once again. The attendance is quite high. I've seen we were like 37 people at the start of the race. That's great for race 4. And like especially with the background of the ACC servers being down and that we made it work with the connector and stuff, that was all great. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. 3 races to go. We're midway through. And yeah, I think we're all having fun.
Fantastic to hear. Well done, Christoph Pearson, on a stellar win, taking the overall victory and the win in the Diamond class. Been an exciting one, that being said, and that does bring us to the end of tonight's broadcast. But make sure you're back on the 18th of May. Coming up next weekend, we're going to be heading out to Indianapolis after the Indy 500 and go and have a bit of fun out on the circuit, chasing down for the victory. Keep an eye on it. It's going to be ice cold, so I suggest going and putting on a jacket, getting yourself nice and warmed up for all the action that we're about to have. And the championship getting closer and closer. Some new faces, some new names coming into the races and looking to challenge everyone towards the front end of the field. And that is going to be the wild story yet to come. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, make sure that you go and hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification icon here at Evolution Racing Academy. Go down to the link down below and join us with the racing. There's plenty to go on, as there's lots of learning, lots of teaching, and there's lots of racing here at Evolution Racing Academy. We want to go and have a huge amount of fun to rock and roll. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and once again, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We're looking forward to seeing plenty more action. Big shout out to our stewards and our admin team for getting the ACC servers up for us to have some racing tonight when people thought it was done and dusted. But the championship's not done and dusted. Round 5 going to be coming up next weekend, so keep an eye on it. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, like always, say it with me. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.